let's get started. So you are a Battlemage,
Yes.
and how do you spend your days? What do you like doing in this game?
I like to do. I try to do dailies as much as possible, but not every day. Even though I know I should. I don't do much like everyday stuff, but I want to get into it again. To keep. I've been a bit off from the game,
Right.
but I want to. Yeah, just get into it again and keep progressing again.
Okay. And do you have anything particular in mind that you want to achieve, or is it just steady progress, steadily moving forward, and just see where you get?
Yeah, I would say steadily progressing and just be useful to my friends who I play with.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Do you have like a group of people, or maybe like a guild or group of friends that you're like trying to do certain content together with? And what's like the next goal that you guys are trying to do?
Wait, what's the boss?
If any. Lotus?
Lucid.
Lucid, right, yeah.
I think is next.
And you've killed Lotus and Damien?
Yeah, I can't do it by myself though.
Yeah, okay, so you like duo or like small party?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because, well, you're more of a supporty character, so in order to be able to do that, you have to have pretty decent levels of funding.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, I see. So would you say that you are okay with predominantly putting everything on, well, yeah, to which extent can you really go hard on supporting without doing damage? I mean, your skills are the things that let you support, right? You're aware of like when to use all your skills, like the barrier and the hyper and everything. 5th job skills.
Yeah, I think so. I'm a bit unsure to when I should use which aura, I think. So I just always go with the
weakening?
The dark aura, mostly.
Yeah, there's a, there's like a blue one.
Yeah.
Wait, yellow is attack speed, then there's a lifesteal one, and then the dark one.
Yeah, that's just the dark aura is just the damage.
Right.
100%.
Yeah. So I think to min-max, from what I understand, is you use the blue one.
Alright, the reduced damage taken and abnormal status resistance.
Is it the blue one? Oh, God, there's like one that debuffs the boss for a bit if they're close to you. Is it weakening aura?
The draining aura. Maybe. Like I said, I'm not good at using the auras. That's one of my issues.
Yeah, what I understand is you use the weakening one, and then if you're like close enough to the boss for a little bit, they get a debuff, and then you switch to the dark one, and then you fight in the dark one until you see the weakening aura disappear, the debuff, and then you switch back into weakening again, and then that's like min-maxing for later. But if you could practice that, that would optimize your damage, and I think because he's weakened, that would also mean that all of your party members are dealing more damage on the target as well.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. And then of course, when you use your big hyper and you use everything, then then you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's as far as I know about auras, but I'm not like a pro mage character. But when I was doing like the battle mage, doing Project CRA, that was the thing that I was trying to do. Other than trying to learn how to telecast properly without just dying and teleporting into every Seaval tail, because that's that's already a challenge in itself. Yeah. Just to double check, you're on Reboot, right?
Yes.
Because you, I see you only have one of your professions learned. I think it's a good idea to just learn all of them, just to have them, and then you can slowly, level them up whenever you need them. Because, do you have your shield?
My shield?
Yeah, because you're using the secondary, right? So eventually you want to craft your shield for
I see.
for endgame. Yeah, you can use a shield. So this one is fine for long term, and it's actually good enough to make sure that you can work on the shield on the side, and you don't have to worry about the shield getting a bad outcome because you can always fall back on this one. This is really good. But you can use a shield as a battle mage, and that can go up to 20 Star Force, you know, later in the game, and that can get you a lot of intellect, a lot of magic attack, and you have to craft that eventually with smithing. So I would go to Ardent Mill, learn all the professions, and in Reboot we can learn all of them, so you don't have to choose. And you can harvest all the rocks, all the big rocks and all the big flowers, right? And to level up your smithing, the easiest thing is to use aquamarines and diamonds to just craft arrows. And then you can level up your smithing very quickly to level 10. And you get the recipe from normal Cygnus.
Okay.
For the Deimos Mage Shield is what it's called.
Okay. I'm gonna have to write that up.
Yeah. Like the more drop rate you get, the better you'll get it. You know, better chance you have at getting it. If it ever does blow up, you need a new recipe every time. So it's good to just, you know, build a few backups of the recipe. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So that's like one thing to, you know, short-term thing you can do, but then you'll get a lot of benefits in the long term without. Because the downside is like, if you get to the point where like, okay, now I want the shield, and then you have to start with everything at that point, then it's a little bit annoying.
Oh yeah, it's gonna take some time probably.
Yeah, and if you just do a little bit over time, it doesn't feel like such a chore. You know, it doesn't feel like so much work.
Exactly.
And you can build up the diamonds and the aquamarines just from harvesting the. I think the heartstones is like the best one because you can get them in stacks. So by the time you get to that point, you'll have a few hundred, and you can just blow through it.
Yeah. All right.
Just
I see those all the time. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, at that point you don't even have to worry about the ores anymore. You can get rid of those probably and just use the straight up ones that you find.
Yeah, alright.
Okay. Because I'm just like focusing on the main screen here, just to see if we can get everything ironed out here. If you have any questions about any topic that I touch on, then just ask them then. And then in the end, I'll also double check if there's anything that you still wanted to know, and then we can go by any questions that you have written down. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, so like some general stuff, so you have enough charm, so you probably have the pocket item on. If you get any trade boost potions, those are really good to use on Insight or Empathy.
Yeah, I haven't found that much on this character. It's kind of a new main.
Right, okay. Did you have another main before this?
Yes, Dark Knight.
I see. Oh yeah, it's 230, yeah. And you do like weekly bosses on that as well for extra income?
It's actually not strong enough.
Okay. Oh, so what's the strongest you say it can do solo?
Not that strong, I think.
3-door or?
I think what I have tried by myself is a Chaos Root Abyss.
Yeah. So like 3-door, the first, the 3 doors on the left without Vellum. You think you can do those?
Yeah, I don't think I can do Vellum yet.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some stuff on the way for Dark Knight. Some buffs, quite a few actually. That might make the class, I think, more competitive with Hero and with Paladin.
Okay, I think it's really fun, but I don't know. I felt like I didn't do enough when I played it, so I wanted to play something more supportive.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. Like they're solid, but not great. They're like just painfully average, I guess.
Yeah,
it's
basically.
not bad, but it's also not great. So they're getting
exactly.
some buffs to compete more with the other characters, but yeah, until then, it just have to.
Well, that's
wait.
nice to hear.
Yeah. Maybe it can reignite your your desire to play the character, that you feel like you're getting rewarded a bit more for playing it rather than just being average. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's the thing. Do you do monster collection?
No.
So I guess for the overarching stuff, monster collection is like part of the way that you can get reward points in the game, right? Maple reward points.
Yeah.
So when it comes to playing, like how much do you play like per week or like per day or per week, like, and in comparison to like totems, do you use totems? Do you use all of them? Do you use half of them? Can you afford them? Like, what's the situation with that?
When I played more actively on the game. I think I played for hours per day. I don't know exactly how much. And I also I always buy totems if I can afford it. But I don't always. I can't always afford it.
Right. So you would say there's more situations where you feel like training, but you can't afford a totem?
Yeah, exactly.
Then there are situations where you're like, I've already used up all my totems and I still have a lot of time in the month basically left over to play.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So when it comes to reward points, so there's like 3 major ways of getting it. One is by bosses and getting the boss rewards. So partially for that's why I was also asking about the Dark Knight, because of course you can get the crystal value, which is really nice, and you can get to capitalize on the investment and all of the achievements you've already done with the Dark Knight, and you can get the reward points as well for killing bosses that you can with the Dark Knight. And even when it comes to weekly bosses, you can get the rewards for the weekly bosses multiple times in the week, but not on the same day. So you'd have to do the weekly bosses with the Dark Knight on a different day than you do with the Battlemage, and that way you can get those rewards multiple times per week.
Okay, cool.
To redeem them. The other thing is to so that's the one big thing. The other thing is Monster Collection, to do the collections again overnight. Or during the day, whatever. So you do the explorations from the sets that are completed.
Yeah, I do that sometimes, but I think I could get better at it.
Yeah. Do you have any 24-hour sets completed?
No, I don't.
I do have I'll put the link in the chat for reward points. This video kind of goes over how to set everything up, for your reward point income, because the third part is like Maple M that you can also do. If you play that a little bit, you can get a lot of reward points from that, up to 500 every day. That's a pretty good minor effort static income of reward points that can already cover like half of your totems per month if you do that daily.
Oh, okay, cool.
So if you want to scale up on how many hours can I play, and if you really feel like grinding, if you do that regularly, between doing some monster collection, some bosses per week, and doing Maple M on the side, you'll almost always be able to buy out all your totems every month.
Alright. Sounds good.
Yeah. You see the link in the chat?
Yes.
Yeah, because it also talks about like how to set up Maple M and link it to your account, so you can make sure that you can redeem the points, because you have to like sync your accounts and everything. So.
Okay, I will look into that.
Yeah, there's like a little bit of a build up in the beginning, but I think people said it's only like 3 or 4 hours of like playing, and most of it is on auto. And then you're like set up to just do like 5 or 10 minutes a day to get your reward points, and you can run it on like a what's called emulator on the computer as well in the background, so you don't have to like occupy your phone for it if you don't want to. And, so that all works. But that gives you like the foundation to be able to say like, okay, now I want to do 2-hour session, and then you'll have a totem available, right?
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah. So I guess that also means that you don't have like a farming character, like a Kana. You're doing mainly just everything on your main character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I started Kana before, but it's, as you can see, it's only wait, where is it?
164. Yeah.
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 Exactly.
So you didn't quite fall in love with it.
Well, I did, but I think I just prioritized.
Yeah, you have to make choices, right? You can't play everything all the time. Yeah, you wish you could.
But I actually really like it. Yeah.
Okay. Then a few other things, I guess, just to look at the rest of the stat screen and everything. You're level 227, that's good to know. It's like around 18k stat. So are you familiar with the progression grid?
Not sure. I don't think so.
Okay, I'll put the link in the chat as well. So this is kind of like what I use as the backbone, as like the skeleton, to see like where you're at in the game, and what kind of numbers you want to work towards achieving that I think are reasonable, and that maintain a balance of like where you spend your time. So purely from an efficiency standpoint. So of course nothing is like ironclad, like, oh, if you don't reach this number, you're shit, or if you reach this number, you don't have to do anything anymore, right? It's not that extreme.
Yeah.
It's a general guideline, and it also means that if you like certain content more and you feel like putting more time into it, that's fine. But then you can use this grid to see like how much should you compensate. You know, like if you like doing Legion way more and you just like training a lot of characters, that's cool, but that can be your benefit, right? Let's say you don't like, I don't know, you don't like farming for nodes or something, you know, and your nodes are going to be like lower, or you don't like doing your dailies, for example, right? Because like you said, like, you're not that great with doing your dailies every day, which is understandable. You know, some people have lives, not everyone, not all of us, but some people do.
Yeah.
And you can't log in every single day and always do the dailies. Then if you do lack arcane power, that will, you know, hurt you. Like you said, I should, you know, you already know how good it is, right? So I'm not going to hammer that one too much. But that does mean if you do like Legion and you like working on a lot of different characters, you can use that to compensate the lack of arcane power with something that you enjoy doing more. So hopefully this kind of map kind of illustrates, and the margins are quite wide, because I didn't want to make like 16 stages of the game, because that would be a little bit too weird. So, you know, all of it is like kind of ballpark, and, you know, trying to approximate, basically using what I think are the big milestones of what kind of content really showcase, like, this is when, you know, the game is on a new level. You know, this is where you're going from like barely being able to do CRA, like being able to do just like solidly being able to solo it, to being able to do like Lotus Damien, being able starting Lucid versus like doing hard Lucid. You know, these are like really big discerning stages of the game where it's like, okay, you're on a different level now. This is like orders of magnitude damage more than you were doing in the prior stage, basically.
Right.
So you're kind of like in between now, right? So we're gonna have to take like a little bit of an average of the numbers, which is of course definitely not an exact science.
Yeah.
But there are general numbers that you want to be working towards once you want to do certain content. So you see like here are like the stages. Party normal Lucid is like kind of like the end goal here for this stage. So the numbers we're trying to work towards are like all the numbers here on the right side.
Right.
And you have like a special note here as well, like 540 is Lucid requirement, so like for arcane power, that one's going to be necessary. It's not really a requirement, but it's really, really useful to have at least 540, you know, to get that 50% bonus damage. And of course, with that, you also have to take into account event buffs. So the Neo Force is still active for a little bit, but when that falls off, then that arcane power is going to go down. Yeah. And you could have some hyper stats in it as well, which is something you have to take into account. So that's always part of the equation. So we'll keep this in the back of our head, and we'll go back to it every now and then to make sure that everything makes sense to you.
Yes, sounds good.
Okay, so with that being said, we can already kind of look at the numbers and see if there's anything where you're like way off, right? And then we can use that as a tool. And I can kind of do some guesstimation, because I could see your stat is pretty high. Your Star Force is also boosted by the Neo Force. Is it 230? So we're going to guess your Star Force is on the low end. Your potential is probably on the high end. IED is a little bit on the low end, so probably the familiars are probably bad, and the WSE probably doesn't have IED. Boss damage is a little bit lower, so I'm going to take that your Legion is not big enough to fill out the Legion grid for boss damage at all, and probably doesn't have all of the strongest bossing links. And the and the interoperability. Are you familiar with the interoperability for Battlemages? Because it has changed recently, if I remember correctly.
I'm not sure. I've just gone for Magic Attack.
Yeah, Magic Attack is like solid. You can't really go wrong with that, right? It helps for mobbing, helps for bossing. But when it comes to like min-maxing your character later, there's obviously like it gets a little bit more complicated than just, you know, like flat number on it, right?
Yeah.
Because at a certain point you're so strong that anything that gives you damage that helps you in both or helps you only in mobbing probably ends up being a waste. And this is because at a certain point your boost nodes and your arcane power just take over like such a huge chunk of all of your damage that it almost doesn't even matter anymore what you're equipping. Everything will just die. And that's like the ideal situation to get to. And again, that's why the dailies are so important. Because that arcane power, every new area getting a new symbol, that's like a big chunk in the beginning. But to maintain that plus 50%, in the beginning that's pretty easy, but that gets really hard. Once you're like in a Sphera and the bosses need 600, you're like, oh, I'm pretty close to 600, but the 50% is at 900. And none of that is going to come from the free extra 30 from a new symbol anymore, because you're going to have all the symbols there. All of that is going to have to come from the individual levels, and it's only 10 per level. And that's when the dailies get really, really valuable.
Yeah.
So one of the things I usually advise, I don't know if you may have considered, maybe not, is to have like 1 or 2 or 3 friends that are also kind of in the same situation where they don't really like the dailies, but they know they have to, and just do like a set time, do like, I don't know, we do Ursus at this time, and then right after that we just do our dailies together, just to either get them done faster, make them more fun. I don't know, maybe be in Discord and just talk about your day while you're doing it, to make it like not so much of a chore and make it a little bit more, use, or like with some people in the guild, like the more the merrier. Sometimes it even takes longer to do it with more people, but it won't feel like it's longer. And at the end of the day, your perception is reality, and it's more important that you feel that it's not bad than, or feel that it's fast rather than it actually being fast.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that could be something to try if you haven't considered that yet. Other than, but interoperability, so to go back to that a little bit, that's changing soon. Like there's KMS changes on the way where re-rolling it and the variance within it is going to change, and it's going to be on average going to be cheaper. So probably the best thing for now is just to save up honor experience. Until you're in a situation where you have a reasonable amount, you have more like financial, freedom to like with circulators and all of that, and then really to look at like what to min-max on, and then to really go for it. From what I can tell, you don't need the attack speed anymore. From what I can tell, people try to go for 20% crit on the second or third line, and then finish off with boss damage on the main line, and then magic attack if they can on the third line. So,
yeah, I've been trying to get boss damage because I know it's low, but no luck so far.
Yeah, boss damage. So boss damage is not. I wouldn't say it's low. I think your boss damage is an okay point, because if this is like a buff what you can get to, you always want to look at like the damage bonus and the boss damage together, right? Because they count as the same when you're bossing. So you're basically at like 400%. And if you look at the grid that I have. And you look at the functional damage here, right? Like bonus and boss together. At the upper end, if you're like at 300, you're good. And you're already at 400. So you're not like really missing much there. I think that's in a fine situation. And if you need the magic attack for mobbing, then you're still okay with where it is. So magic attack typically never stays the top line, like, or weapon attack, you see? Like it's never here for not a single character. It's the top one you want. Because the unique line can go up to 21, and that loss of only 9 attack or magic attack, as rare as it is to get it, is always going to be less of a loss than how much you gain from the top lines, because they're just too valuable otherwise. So it's also part of the interoperability command here. So usually the main way of going about it, oh, look at this beautiful ink graph, is to, so you're already at Legendary, and you have a temporary, to a nice top line with, so you're at like 3A is where you're at right now.
Right.
If your prime best assault line is not +1 attack speed. Some people to go for 20 mezzo or 20 drop, right? Either to get more nodes or to get more money, and to promote like that. That is also still an option for you to do if you want to, either with circulators or during a 50% off to roll. Because that 30 magic attack is nice, but that should never be the difference between being able to one-shot or being able to significantly kill a boss faster. So you could go for the utility line if you want to, just because in the long term, it's going to help you make a lot more money, and it's going to help you get more nodes to, accelerate your growth.
Yeah, I think I earn money way too slow, actually, so...
Yeah, well, that's probably what we're going to look at and what we're going to set up for you to make sure that when you're training, you'll feel like you will be getting way more value out of your training, and hopefully that will also, that plus increasing the access to the...
Excuse me.
To the totems, okay, that's okay, will hopefully those two things together make you more likely to want to train, and then when you do it, just feel way better afterwards, because you can look at all the gains you made, right?
Yeah.
So those are kind of your options, I would say. But in either case, you need to save up some honor experience because you don't have that much right now.
Yeah, I have even less now, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and get some more. Yes.
Yeah, honor is really just one of those things where you just want to save up and then go hard. If you like, oh, get 5k, spend 5k, very, very low chance that you get something great.
Yeah.
Because I think at this point, if you're going for the boss damage now, you're going like towards what you eventually want faster, but you're gonna get there slower, because I think going for the mezzo first, or maybe the drop, but like ideally the mezzo, it feels like a huge detour, but it'll get you to the finish line faster.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I'm guessing you don't have an insane amount of nodes, because probably a lot of it went into the Dark Knight before.
Yeah, not that many, no.
Yeah, we'll see that when we get to the Matrix, where you are with that exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, either circulator or like roll during 50% off. I think you can do that to get to mezzo. That's usually what I advise if your prime line is not +1 attack speed, right? Because +1 attack speed just helps you everywhere so much, and it helps you getting into the rhythm and feeling like the flow of your character, and it helps you set up with like your muscle memory and what you can get away with. And I think messing with that too much or like getting into the habit of being on your attack speed where you're going to be at as soon as possible helps you get better with your character. But if you don't need the attack speed +1, just go for the utility and then just save a lot of honor experience. And then later, so if you would want to min-max later, then you would use circulators first to try to hit that 20 crit. And for circulators, it's just pure gamble, right? So just say like, okay, I'm going to spend 5 bill, or I'm going to spend 10 bill, or, you know, just put some kind of budget on it. And don't worry, at that point, 5 or 10 bill will be a reasonable amount. Right now, it might seem like a lot of money. Yeah. And you just be like, okay, I'm going to spend this much. And if you don't get it, then it's fine. And then, you know, you just wait until next time. If you do get it, then you take that, you take that outcome, and then you lock that crit line, and then you try to roll again for the top line to have something good. So because you're going to have to roll over what you're already used to, that's why you want to have extra, both on money side and both on honor experience side, because you're taking like a detour and then swerving back. But it's always going to be a net benefit to do it this way. So you kind of just have to, trust the system, I guess. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay, cool. So in a bit. So that'll help you with the crit, because I imagine right now, and you'd have the 10 crit here, that's not like crazy. I'm guessing that you're relying for crit quite a bit on the Neo Force and probably also on Link skills right now?
Yes, I believe so.
Mm-hmm. And mainly so the min-maxing for the crit rate on the ability is mainly to be able to switch out of one of your, out of the Phantom Link skill and be able to move into a damaging Link skill instead.
Yeah.
And this is like something, just to put this like into big perspective, this is probably something that you will consider doing when you're moving up to like hard Lucid and hard will, and you're like around level 250 to 55.
Alright.
To like your general overview of like when that's actually going to happen.
Yeah, it's gonna happen at some point.
Yeah, at some point. But the same thing, the same way like with the professions and something, there's like some short-term decisions you can already make so that you're working towards that the whole time. As long as you're aware, like, this is the bigger picture, this is like why I'm doing all of these things. And then, the short-term decisions of like, spending all my honor experience because I want to get boss damage, then that will start, in that grand scheme of things, that will start seeming more like a bad decision, which is like where we want to go with that, without telling you like that's horrible.
Yeah.
Directly, yeah. Other than that, the only last thing I see in this picture is that your critical damage is at 0. So critical damage is one of your, like the order of like important ways of increasing your damage when you're mobbing is like final damage is always the best, right? But that's kind of limited to your kit. The only other way to get final damage would be to have enough arcane power to get a final damage multiplier. And against bosses would be to have enough IED to have a low final damage penalty. That's like final damage. Then the second best way of getting damage would be critical damage, but that only triggers when you have critical rate, so critical rate is actually a little bit more important, and then critical damage right underneath that. And then it's like boss damage and damage, and then, kind of on the same level as percentage attack, but then it comes down to a balance of how much you have, right? And there you can use the progression grid to kind of look at like what is the balance and how much is like enough and when can I move into the other one. And then it's just like, you know, stat and secondary stat, etc., etc.
Right.
So critical damage is very important to get your damage up, but you need to get that 100% crit. So the further you get, and not right now, but like if you get further and you can have enough hyperstep points to go past level 10, typically what people end up doing is they'll end up having like kind of 2 sets, and we have the hyperstep presets, thank God, finally in KMS. So, but that does mean it's probably another 6 months away for us. But where you'll be able to make like one setup for bossing, one for mobbing, and then specifically be like, okay, I'm mobbing, okay, like full, or like not quite full, but like go into experience, go into crit, enough crit rate to hit 100%, and then go into critical damage, and go into flat damage, and then that's all I'm taking. And then when you're bossing, of course, no experience, nothing like that, but you go harder into the IED and into the boss damage to make sure that you hit the numbers you need to hit, and then enough crit rate to hit 100%, and crit damage, and then damage, kind of like in that order. But critical damage is high on that list. So currently, let me check how much longer do we have the Neo Force until the 8th or something? Yeah. So that's a little bit. Do you know your exact crit rate right now?
I don't. Wait. Let me check and see if I can find out.
Are you in game?
Yeah.
And do you have in your stat window without any buffs? Are you at 100 already?
No, 85 without buffs.
Without buffs, okay. And what kind of... Is there any kind of crit rate that you can get yourself? Wait, how did you get to 100 then? Decent sharp eyes? And then 5 from...
yeah, when I use a decent sharp eyes and then I use the battle rage, I get 100.
Right, but battle rage doesn't have 100% uptime, right?
It's the toggle. So you can
the single target, or 1/3 targets, whatever. For bossing, right?
Maybe.
Like
Wait,
like it decreases the amount of targets. Is that the one?
I'm just gonna read out loud. Focus on the enemy, significantly increasing damage against. Blah blah blah. 40% damage, critical rate 20%, critical damage 8%. See.
I think that's the one that used to do 1 target, but now does amount of targets divided by 3 in the same way that the Enraged mode in Hero does, and the Bear mode in Beast Tamer did. But they kind of changed, and the Mihail skill as well. But they changed how that works, right? It's not single target anymore, but it's like the regular amount of targets that the skill would use, but then divided by 3. So, so when you're mobbing, I think you're usually not using this because you don't hit enough monsters when you're doing this. But when you're bossing, you always want to be in this because there's never enough like targets for you to lose out on DPS.
Yeah.
She has 2 DAs. Oh shit! Another one. I have 2 DAs too. Oh yeah, I see. 1 burn not finished. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was actually an accident. I didn't think I had one, and then I chose one for the burning.
Wow, so memorable. You didn't even remember you had one.
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah. Well, that's what would happen to a DA. Yeah. Yeah. So when you're mobbing, you're not in that toggle, right? So then you're at 95.
Let's see. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, so that means in the short term we will need to keep your stuff where it is. We can probably work on crit a bit. So crit is something that in the beginning feels like it's impossible to really get enough of. And then once you get really far into the game, it's like, oh my god, I have so much crit. Like, because it starts coming from so many angles that you're not used to. And you have... Are you getting some crit from your Legion board? You're getting 5% from there.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. A little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that can go up to 40% as well eventually, so...
Yeah.
That's sky's the limit there. And if you have a really big Legion, then that helps a lot. Okay.
Yeah, I gotta work on that as well.
Yeah, so we'll get back to the hyperstats, but in general, what probably... Do you have any hyperstats lower? Because there's, like, more like in XP or in Arcane Power? Do you have any hyperstats on that?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I missed that. Magic attack. I have 9.
Okay, and do you have any in and that's it? Nothing else? No Arcane Power, no EXP?
Nope.
Okay. Alright, this will be pretty simple then, I think. Because Magic Attack is nice, but it's, like, in terms of efficiency, it's way lower than critical damage if you can hit your 100% crit rate.
Right.
So, like, probably the main thing right now is going to be to redistribute the points a little bit. We won't go 100% into it now, but what we'll probably eventually end up doing is getting rid of all of the magic attack, putting it all into critical damage instead. But we might move around a little bit where we put all the numbers. But it might be like 9, 9, 8, 10, 9, something like that, right? Like we're kind of like puzzle, mix and match, but it'll be like really close. Because I'm pretty sure that between critical rate, critical damage, ignore defense, damage, boss damage, like those 5, you can get them all to 8, and then like a few of them to 9. Or maybe all of them to 9 and maybe one of them to 10, something like that. It's probably what we'll end up with. But it's kind of a puzzle between hyperstats, where you put everything in your Link and your Legion, right? Like your Legion board, your Legion grid, and your Link skills, and your hyperstats. Basically, that's all like one big puzzle together to see like how can we roughly optimize this. But definitely Magic Attack is something that you put points in when you don't have enough to go to the next level for critical rate, critical damage, ignore defense, damage, boss damage, when you don't have enough for the next level, or when the next level is so expensive, like if you're going from 12 to 13 or 13 to 14, and you're like, oh, you know, instead of going one level there, you can actually get to 8 or 9 in Magic Attack, then that becomes more valuable again. But that's, you know, we're talking about like level 260 plus, right, when you have more than 1,000 hyperstat points, and when you're doing that min-maxing between bossing setup and a mobbing setup. So for now, those hyperstats are probably just going to go straight into critical damage. You should already see some nice damage increase, but it'll be, you know, part of the puzzle of everything.
Yeah.
So to go to the other part of the puzzle, I guess, would be your hyper skills and your Legion. I guess in general, if you look at your Legion, we can kind of already see what you're doing with that. So how is Legion for you? Do you enjoy doing Legion? Do you mainly focus during the events for the easy levels?
I've had some fun with just leveling other characters, but I've been bad at that as well.
Bad how? Like sticking with it, or not enjoying yourself, or
just doing it? I think I spend my time like on other things, even though I know I should focus more on that as well. I think there's a lot of things that I know I should do, but I haven't done it. But yeah, I want to get into it, like I said, so.
Well, I mean, yeah, you've used should before, right? Like with the dailies and with this as well. Should is like, how do you use should there? Like, do you feel bad that you're not doing it, or are you like, I want to do it, but I just need to know how to do it a bit more efficiently, or? Because I don't want you to like force yourself to do something you're not really wanting to do, because that's going to take away your enjoyment from the game.
Well, I think I want to, but I think it's the time that I don't have.
Yeah.
But I know I can make more time for it. So I know I can. I just have to prioritize better, I think.
Yeah, because to a certain extent, like if you want the results, you're gonna have to put in the time. But that doesn't mean you have to do. I mean, you could do it like in an efficient way, or in an inefficient way, or in a fun way, or in a non-fun way, right? And it's all about finding like, okay, which day is like, okay, now I just want to sit and grind a little bit, and now I just want to get gains, and you know, if it's unfun, it's whatever, but you know, have to bite the bullet and just get through it. So what I usually do for Legion stuff is every day do a little bit of Legion, every single day. And even if it's just make a new character and get it to like level 60 or to level 70, or go on existing characters that are at least level 100 and then go kill Zakum, or use Monster Park, you know, I would prioritize Monster Park probably for this character, for the 7-day Monster Parker medal, because I don't think you have it yet, right?
I don't.
Yeah. So that's what I would do, like Monster Park on this guy, just to get the medal, and do a little bit of Legion every day. So if you like make one new character and you're like, okay, that's enough, I don't feel like doing more, then that's fine, you stop there. Do you have like 6 or 7 characters between level 100 and 140? You have not killed Zakum yet. Just log in, kill Zakum, log out. Log in, kill Zakum, log out. And it's a lot of levels. Just a lot of free levels. And yeah, because you have like 21 more characters, right? That will count their level towards Legion. So if all of those are just level 60 characters, which is the lowest level to register, then you're already getting 1,200 extra. So you'll already be close to like 3.8, 3.9k. And once you hit like 3k, 4k, the board bonus, so like the member bonus plus the grid bonus together of your Legion is going to become a lot. And then all of the link skills are all going to go from level 1 to level 2 as well. And that's going to be a whole lot. And then every single new character you make is going to feel way less like a chore. And it's going to take way less time to get the same gains in. Because a new level 1 character, or like level 10 character, like for example, when I remade my Mihail, and I had 8k Legion, when I was level 1, and I could hit crits that were like 8.5k damage, just on basic attacks at level 1. So it's almost like you're playing a level 60 character in like a level 5 character body. And you could just blow through everything. And you can like boost out your critical rate and your critical damage with your board. You could just be one-shotting all the way up to level 100 super easily. And, you know, you have to play something that you enjoy, but killing things really quickly is very hard to not like. And then it just becomes like a... you know, like second nature to be like, okay, well, let's do a little bit. And the other thing is, like, when you play, what do you usually leave until the last moment? And then it's almost reset or whatever, and you're like, ugh, I still have to do this. I would
say Commercy.
So...
because I'm trying to get those, whatever they're called.
the Narrows,
Sweetwater.
Yeah, the Sweetwater Crypts, Yeah, we'll circle back to that, but typically if there's something you always leave to the last moment, that's something you have to decide for yourself is, do I really need it, or can I just axe it? And if you really need it, it's probably best to just do it in the beginning of the day, so you have it done with, and then you have only fun stuff left to do.
Yeah, that's
for your mental. That's usually really good for your mental, so you're not like dreading it. You're like, oh, okay, the worst part is already over, now I can do all the fun stuff. Or you just exit, right? Because if it's not fun, and you're always leaving at the last moment, and it's just like a drag on your mental the whole day, sometimes it's also just better to exit, or just do it every other day, you know. You know, those are. But we'll get back to it when we get to like the dailies and what to prioritize there. I'm kind of bad with like the time. What are we at? Okay, we're at like 45. Okay, we're like halfway. Okay. Good, yeah, so for Legion Link, do a little bit every day. So generally what I do, when you make a new character, just, you know, do it on as long as you want, or as long as you feel like it. I like getting to 100, but I didn't do that all the way in the beginning. In the beginning, I would just do like 60 or 70 just to get the level 1 Link skill, and then maybe come back to it the next day. There's definitely some events that help you more, you know, with the new characters than others. But in the beginning, it's just a matter of just mass producing Legion mules until you get to that 40 number at least, because it's just so much free Legion. And once you get to 3k, you get the grid is like 1 bigger as well. Plus, you get to put 5 extra characters on a board instead of just 1. So that helps you fill out the board quite a bit more. And for you, for bossing, would probably need the IED. And if you have enough crit rate, then you can go into critical damage as well. And then if you have anything left over, we can go into boss damage, but that's probably not going to be available yet, because the members that you put in the grid are probably going to be small pieces, so you're not going to be able to cover as much surface with them yet until you know, get to 100, and then just daily Zakum run up to 140 is usually what I do, because it's just very efficient time-wise. Like, you don't need good gear, you don't need to go find maps, you don't need anything. You just log into, you know, go into Zakum, wait for the arms to spawn, kill them all, loot, go out, done. Like, it's a few minutes, and on those few minutes you get insane experience from those arms, and all the way up until 140. I think that's just, from an efficiency standpoint, really good. So, you know, you're feeling like it, you want to explore a new character, do that. You're not feeling like it, but you do want to get some, you know, brain dead gains, log into some Zakum mules is what I would do.
Yeah, sounds good.
So if the Legion board goes to 3k and to 4k and beyond that, you basically start to divest away from the mid of the grid, where the intellect and the magic attack is, and you start investing more into the side pieces of the grid. So, like, again, enough crit rate to get to 100%, then fully into the critical damage, because it helps you, you know, second part, most important part of the damage behind the final damage for both mobbing and bossing. So critical damage is very important. And then ignore defense, again, remember that's part of the final damage part, because it makes it so that you get less final damage reduction. So if you need the IED, that's higher priority than critical damage. Except if you're mobbing, of course, then IED doesn't do shit. If you still have any points left over after all of that, then you can go into boss damage. But mainly you'll start using the middle just as a connector between the critical rate and the critical damage, just like a flat line in between.
Right, yeah.
So that'll be once you hit 3k, then you have to like redo that a little bit for optimizing. Because I do see like there's a general line, right, where you're going pretty heavily on the magic attack and the intellect. And that's like intuitively that seems really good, but once everything gets a bit more complicated, the magic attack becomes way less efficient than the other stuff. Once the other stuff is all figured out and it's basically maxed out, you have like an 8k Legion board, you have enough crit, the critical damage is full, ignore defense is full, boss damage is full. Well, now you can go hard on the magic attack again because it's way better than any other option you have at that point.
Right.
150, you can do normal Horntail for extra levels. A lot of characters kind of struggle at those early levels with even normal Horntail. People can get one shot even in the boss fight sometimes. I don't know about Horntail. I don't like Horntail as much because the pre-heads can be very annoying single target. Some characters can have like a lot of multi-target hitters and they can kill Horntail pretty quickly. But doing like the singular heads, I think it's kind of a waste of time, honestly. I wouldn't do that. I would just fund a little bit at 140, wait for a good event, and then just go hard. Like, throw like 300, 400 mil at your 140 character, deck it out, Star Force potential, and then just, you know, turn your brain off, totem, and grind out to 200, and then, you know, do that. That's usually how I do it. But that's if you're trying to make the jump from 6 to 8k, right? 6k is like a really good amount of Legion to go to. That used to be one of the borders, but because of the change of the levels... where's Legion in here? Legion level. Yeah, it's kind of like in between here. So like 6k is probably a good spot to be at, like around 250. Right. But like going towards 4k, so you could do that, right? 4k, you know, just a little bit more levels and just fill out with really low level characters, fill out the 40 slots, and you'll already be really close to 4k. So you'll be right on track. And what goes together with that is getting all of the characters to 140, especially the ones with high priority link skills. So for example, your Phantom right now is level 1. If that goes to level 2, boom, extra 5 crit, you're already at 100% without your empowerment, right? And we don't even have to move any other crit around. We don't have to move your Legion around, don't have to move your hyper stats around. It's just a matter of getting the Phantom to 120.
That should go fast.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, that 5 crit is the difference between your critical damage applying all the time or your critical damage not applying all the time. And when you're trying to mob, you want to have the 100% crit because you want to know, do I one-shot, do I two-shot? And not, do I one-shot sometimes and do I two-shot sometimes? Because that disrupts your rotation and disrupts your kill speed, disrupts your loot rotations, and that just trickles down into just it being a whole lot less efficient, and then that feels at the end of the training session like you didn't really get out of it what you could have gotten out of it.
Right.
So that. The other thing is what it'll also allow you to do is get like specific setups for mobbing and for bossing, right? Like the same way that we're going to do in the future for hyperstats, that's going to help you for link skills as well. And for link skills in general, the advice I have is the links grid. I put that one in the chat right now. Don't know if you've seen this one.
I have not.
It's beautiful, if I say so myself.
Yeah, very.
There's a lot of information on there. On the bottom, you can see like what all the colors mean, and where all the ranks are, what the ranks mean and everything, what the dashes mean. But basically, because of how important certain skills are and how they will help you snowball with the Legion for every single character to become stronger than the last one and for it to go faster and faster. This general order in the first column is basically what I advise the order to be and to like work on the Legion if you're looking at it from an efficiency standpoint to like grow your account. So if you see a character here that you don't have yet, I'll put that like higher on the list than whatever else you have going on. And you will see that the Phantom, right, for the crit is very high up. Because in the column, you see in the first row, it's very high up. So experience and then skill cooldown reduction kind of comes for free with the Mercedes anyway. And then buff duration, crit rate is right there, and then crit damage right after, and then flat damage. Because, you know, that's where the raw power comes from from those stats, that's where the raw power comes from the new characters as well, to be able to kill quicker. And if you kill quicker, you level quicker in the beginning. A lot of people get a little bit bogged down with the Legion grid, and they start putting their Legion pieces into EXP in the Legion grid. That's very inefficient early on. You want to throw it into crit rate, so you always crit, and into critical damage, so your crits hit harder, and then maybe into main stat even. Because bonus experience, if you fill out the entire bonus experience grid, that only gives you 10% extra.
Right.
And that's about the same as just the level 200 0 piece if you put the 0 on the board. That's the same amount. So, like, from an efficiency standpoint, it's just not that good. It's better to just make your character stronger and be able to kill faster, and that'll give you more extra experience than a little bit of bonus experiences does. It's only when you're, like, you know, going from 6 to 8k Legion, everything's already full, your character's already really strong, and they can one-shot without it, then you go into bonus experience, you know? Then you're kind of like, you know, just adding insult to injury. But yeah, in general, this order I would go into just to, you know, fill out the Legion. If you really find a character that you just absolutely hate, or, you know, you already forget that you leveled it when there's a burning event, it's probably a good indication that you don't really enjoy that character. And honestly, like, I'm like 100%, if there's a burning event, then just burn it instead, and just get over it, and just get it done faster. Because a lot of times people are like, "Oh, what should I burn? Like, what's the fastest character? What should I burn?" It's like, well, I don't think you should burn the fastest character. I think you should burn the slowest character, like the one you hate the most, so you can get over that the fastest.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Or a main, of course. If you want to build a new main, then you burn that one. Otherwise, you know, if it's purely for Legion and Lynx, do one that you hate, because, you know, why prolong your suffering if you can make it go over faster, right? In the end, it's all about keeping the most amount of fun, I think, in the game. So if you have one of those, you know, just give it like a check mark or like a angry face or whatever, and be like, okay, circle back to this when there's an event, and I'll level it then, and then just go on to the next one. And you'll find some characters that you don't like, and you'll find some characters you like a lot more. But the further you go down, and the stronger your whole Legion and your Lynx get, the more characters you will find that you enjoy, because they'll just get stronger. And it's really hard to dislike a character that just blows through content. It's really tricky. So that for Legion, Lynx, and all of that. So we kind of take into account how much we can gain from that as well, to take that back to the hyper stats, right? Do you have Zero and Beast Tamer?
No, I created a Zero, but I haven't played on it at all yet. I just created it, so I can play on it sometime, but I just haven't gotten around to it.
And Beast Tamer, do you have that one?
Yes, I have one, but I haven't.
Okay,
I
good.
haven't played on that one either.
Yeah, well, they were available for creation and aren't anymore, so it's good that you made them and haven't leveled them. That's perfect.
Yeah, exactly. I was told I should do that.
Yeah, okay, that's really good. Yeah, whoever said that, good advice.
Yes,
because you can see them on the list here, right? They're pretty high up. Like Zero is the 4th one on the list here, and Beast Tamer is right here as, 10th. So they're really high up because their Link skills and Legion buff are just very, very useful for both of them. So to get up to 120. Zero, because it starts at a higher level, needs to be higher level to get the same ranked rewards as the other characters, all the way up until 200, and then it kind of equalizes again. Because, you know, in the grand scheme of things, 0 to 100 is not that big of a deal. You know, if you get from 100 to 200 or from 0 to 200, that's almost like a rounding error in how much time you spend on the character. But going from 0 to 120 or from 100 to 120 is quite significant. So it takes a little bit longer for them to build up to the same tiers. Yeah. Who's sub, by the way? Oh, Smidley gifted us up. Thank you, Smidley. So that will also say that, like, because now you have like a little bit of a mix and match of everything going on in your Link skills, right? And like when you're mobbing, then Fury Unleashed, Light Wash, like maybe Invincible Belief, like those don't actually do anything. But then when you're bossing, there's a bunch of skills that don't really do much. Like Bravado is not super important, maybe because your ID is on the lower end. That one does quite something. But like Rune Persistence, Elven Blessing, don't do anything at all.
No.
Are you familiar with Link skill stacking?
I have been told some, but I'm not very. Not that much, I would say. Yeah,
I thought I had an indicator. Yeah, here on the right with like extra comments, I do have like comments that it stacks. So like the resistance links, the one that you have, right, Spirit of Freedom, that one stacks with the other resistance characters. So if you level up a blaster,
right.
mechanic, you can link it to this without taking up an extra spot. You can always link it into your main link skill.
Yes, right, I remember now.
Yeah, and the explorers stack together as well. So like you have the invincible belief, so you could technically stack all three of the warriors. But invincible belief is like it's very unreliable, like random cooldown self-healing skill that's like if you really need all the survivability you can get, you can roll into it, but typically it's like very, very low priority to use. So I'm assuming you just used it because, you know, just to have something there, right?
Yeah, I don't have that many options yet.
Yeah. So for bossing, in your current situation, at least we want to high prioritize IED. Again, enough crit rate to get to 100%. Critical damage if you have it. IED, very, very important. And then boss damage, and then any kind of utility that you need. Is your knockback resistance always at 100%, or does that come with a certain... is it also when you have the hyper on? Or the toggle?
Always on the... it's always on 100.
Okay. So you don't need the Mihal. I guess one of the things that you do have that we'll probably try to throw in there is the empirical knowledge. You have debuffs that you put on the boss because of your weakening aura and all that stuff. So you can use empirical... empirical knowledge will work, and like things like the Kadena link skill will be very nice for a lot of extra damage. Those will help you a lot in bossing, but IED would be like high priority. So even maybe using the 0 one, if you get higher IED, leveling up the bravado, and then empirical knowledge, just to get all of the IED that you can get right now, because that one is severely lacking. Yeah. Are you familiar with IED and how that affects like the final damage penalty, how that works?
I'm no expert, but I know some of it, I would say.
Okay, well, what would you say you know?
I just know that I'm lacking it.
Okay, so how much would you? So how much do you need?
I don't know how much I need, but it's.
No, if only there was like a grid that showed like the metrics that you were aiming for, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah, there it is. It's functional IED, right? So there's a difference between functional and visual. So if you look at your stat window, that's the visual. The reason we don't work with that is because it's inaccurate. It rounds up and it shows you how much is always active, regardless of what you hit and regardless of what skill you hit with. So that's like an important number to know, I guess. But some classes have a lot of extra effects, a lot of on-boss debuffs, a lot of extra skill-specific buffs. And for them, what looks like 80% in the stat window can actually be enough to functionally be here at like low 90s to mid 90s. But for some characters, if you see 80, your actual functional is even like lower than 80 because it's rounded up. So it's really good to just not look at that. It can be like somewhat of an indication, but you have to know specifically for your character how much is actually being added on here and what does that number really mean for me. So what you're going to be aiming for functionally when you're bossing is over 90% functional, so like 92, 93. Yeah. And that's because of the defense of the bosses. So in the lower level ranges, the bosses only have like around 100% armor, even like up to 3-door CRA only has 100% armor, or called PDR. And your IED is just like the penetration that makes your damage go through the armor. Yeah. So if you have 85% functional and they have 100% armor, then 85% of the armor is negated, but they still have 15% armor, and that becomes your final damage penalty. So if you do 1 million damage and you have 15% final damage reduction, then you only hit 850k when you would hit 1 million otherwise. So that's a big final damage penalty, and that hurts all of the work you put into your character can all be completely nullified by just not having enough IED. So when it comes to higher level bosses, so Vellum has used to have 300, but now has 200% armor. Bosses like Helix have 250%, and when it comes to Lotus, Damien, Lucid, all of those bosses, all the way up to Saren, those have 300% armor, and then Saren even has 390%. So that means that, you know, relatively, IED becomes more and more important because the same amount of IED doesn't cut it for those higher level bosses. Now, luckily, the amount of sources you have of IED also goes up, but it does mean that the balance of IED to other stats, especially where those stats can interfere with each other, where you have to choose, do I pick IED here or something else with the same resource, like in hyperstats, like in your Legion build, like in potential lines for weapon, secondary, and emblem. Right, you have to choose which one you use there. There's an opportunity cost there and a balance that comes into play with which one do you choose. So if you stick to 80% and you're doing 3-door CRA, it's not that bad. You lose 20% final damage. That's a decent chunk, but you can just overpower that. But if you're trying to do Lotus or Damien with 80% IED, there's 60% damage reduction, 60% final damage reduction. You're doing less than half of your actual damage. That's really bad, right? That's really rough. So we want to get over that 90% functional. So then for that, I have exclamation mark IED. Someone already put it in the chat. So you have like a list of the sources that you can go by. Some of those are really easy to get early on. Some of those are long term, and you want to be working on them every day, like the Monster Parker medal. Right there, it is again. The ambition trait, this is just long term by doing bosses. Set bonuses that will come later. Weapon secondary and emblem potential. A lot of characters will rely on at least one line of big IED on their weapon secondary and emblem. Why? Because in the end game you're relying on the Golux set bonus, which Helix is quite far away still, right? It's really annoying. Even if you can get carries, it's quite a long time. And the second thing is also your Legion grid bonus, that big 40% chunk, that also comes into play way later when you have like a 6k plus Legion. So until then, you almost always want to rely on at least one line of IED from your weapon secondary or emblem. That's not like admitting defeat, and like saying I'm giving up my damage. It is important though to not get like 10 of these lines early on. Figure of speech you can only get 9, but because then your damage against normal monsters that isn't available fully yet from the arcane power and from the boost nodes. Some of that does have to come from like percentage magic attack, right, from your WSE. And if that's all IED to help your bossing, or like if it's a combination of all bossing and IED, that can hurt you in your kill speed from mobbing as well.
Yeah.
So we're looking for IED everywhere where it doesn't really go at the expense of anything else. That's where we always want to get IED. So what does that mean early? It means working on the Monster Parker medal and getting IED on familiars, because nothing else really important can come from there. So that brings us to familiars, where you have one Mantis.
Yes.
With 1% magic attack.
Yeah, I haven't done much on familiars at all.
Yeah, and that's normal, right? They don't drop from the monsters that you're killing. Where they do drop is the lower level monsters, where you will be killing when you're working on your Legion. So all of the cards you get while working on your Legion, just put them all in storage, bring them all back to the Battlemage, and open them all up on the Battlemage. So what you're looking for is the 15% IED, and any kind of healing will be nice to look at, and any kind of drop rate. It'll be small amount of drop rate on the common. If you can get rare cards, those drop sometimes as well. Those can have just increases drop rate without like small amount or large amounts, nothing like that. Those are pretty good. Those will help you a lot with just getting better loot when you're mobbing.
Yeah.
But like the IED for bossing, that's going to be important. I think it's about a 1% chance. Usually it's like 1 in 100 cards or something, which seems impossible now, but if you're working on Legion a lot, once you get to training in an area where the cards do drop, you'll get that in no time. A lot of cards do end up dropping. So it's a little bit of a slow start for that, but that's definitely where you want to get a lot more IED. We can get into more detail with the IED with like the calculator and everything to look at the numbers that you're looking for, but I am sure that if you can get to unlock your second slot, get to 2 IED familiars, and get at least 1 line on your weapon secondary and emblem, because I don't think you have one yet there, right?
Yeah, I don't.
Okay. To get at least 1 line there, then you should be in a really good position to have enough IED. And again, because you're mainly support as well. Like you want to do damage, but you're also mainly support, so you don't have to be like 100% on point with everything. What for you is more important is like when do you use your skills, where do you put like the barrier down, keeping the boss like weakened so that your team does more damage, and you also bring reduced elemental resistance to the boss, which helps your entire team do more damage as well. Are you familiar with that, elemental resistance?
Not very.
Well, most people are not, so don't feel bad. That's
Alright.
the reason why in the beginning of the game I told you like that insight and empathy are good to level up with your trade boost potions, because insight gives you basically like elemental penetration, basically like elemental IED. And there's only a few things in the game. All the bosses also have elemental resistance, but there's only a few sources in the entire game, like 4 or 5, I think, that actually give people more, allow people to ignore that elemental defense as well. And one of it is the Battlemage. Dawn Warrior has a skill, and Archmages have a skill on their own, and then there's Insight, and I believe that's everything. So since no one else really has those sources, you allow for the whole team to do way more damage. But like unironically, like 15% of their final damage, like all the time, extra. And so even though you are not getting... Oh, and Blaze Wizard, my bad, Seth. So even though... well, Blaze Wizard has it for himself, right? Or for everyone? So even though you maybe not be doing the most damage, and you're not like throwing out those big domains, you're basically doing like half a domain, or like a third of a domain, like all the time. And people won't really be noticing it, but it will be happening, you know? So it's kind of tricky. You just have to know. And sometimes you'll have to convince people like, hey, I do this thing. That helps you a lot. Make sure that you're aware of this. Sometimes you have to educate people. Yeah. It's like, I'm helping, okay?
I do something at least.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But between the barrier, between that debuff, between the weaken, and then, you know, the teleporting all over the place with your 5th job skill, you will be bringing a lot to the table. And that's not to say that you don't, you know, have to work on your account, but it does say that that brings you to a certain level of utility immediately, as long as you use your skills right. So that does also mean that, you know, besides all of this, maybe talking to other battle mages, you know, maybe joining the Battlemage Discord for some tips for some bosses that are harder to do, like Lucid and Up.
That's the thing?
Yeah.
Battlemage Discord?
Yeah, so through my Discord and also through the Reboot Central Discords, there are like links to class-specific Discords where people within one class like discuss things of like, you know, how do you do certain things, what kind of bugs do we have, how can we bypass certain things that hurt the class. Yeah, there's the, I mean, you know, for certain classes it's less than for others. I assume that the Battlemage one isn't, you know, brimming with thousands of posts a day, because it's probably a little bit less played class. But there's always like a core group of people who are just like really hardcore trying to figure out how the class works and how to optimize.
Right. Into that.
Yeah. I think through my Discord, I think Noah put all the links up. So if you're on my Discord and then you go to... Let's see, where is it? It's somewhere up top, I think. Where did he add it? It's under guilds. Oh boy, I can definitely find it.
I'm searching too.
Yeah, Discord Ubu. Buffs, please. That sounds about right. The squad. Join the guild. Okay, I should be able to know where that is immediately. Oh, here, MapleStory class Discord. Sorry, it's under Stream Live.
I just found it as well.
Yeah.
Right.
And there you can find it, and then so these are like separate.
Battlemage, I found it.
So there's probably a bunch of people just, and these are people who like really love their class, so they'll be very eager to just help you out with any questions that you have, and the more specific your questions are. Because if you just say like, "Hey, should I do this?" it'll always be like, "Well, it depends," you know. That'll always be the answer. So it's like, "Well, what do you want to do?" You know. So the more fleshed out your question is, the better they'll be able to help you out.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, you linked the Battlemage Discord. Okay.
Oh, I missed that.
It's like directly the. Oh yeah, I see.
Yeah, I joined it.
Yep. There you go. Thank you, Change. Yes, that'll be a good thing to do. Okay, so we're keeping all of the puzzles in the back of our head. We're about an hour and 10. Okay. I think we're on track. Cool. All right. When it comes to Legion links, familiars, do you have any questions?
Not at the moment, I think.
Okay.
I think you've covered most of it.
Well, I think so too, but it's a matter of you,
Yeah.
if you know, because I'm
Yeah,
right here, so...
I will probably rewatch this if you upload it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then something will come to mind most likely, and then you can just hit me
Yeah.
up. So...
Oh, by the way, so
yeah?
my matrix has been updated.
Mm-hmm.
I uploaded the new one. So maybe if you refresh the page.
Yeah, I clicked it recently, so I should have the newest. Let me just refresh it just in case.
Yeah, I didn't remove the old one.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's at the bottom.
Ah, okay, at the bottom. Yeah, okay.
Is that the one?
Right. Yes, here we go.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay. Right. All right. I move this little stuff around a little bit. Yeah, so you want your bind when you are solo bossing. Of course, when you're party bossing, you probably have a Kana there, so then it's not as necessary. All right. Do you not want speed infusion?
I don't think... I haven't thought about it.
I believe you want that. Where are my battle mages in the chat? Change 10.
Speed infusion?
Yeah, decent speed infusion for the extra rank of attack speed. Because I believe that stacking with the green pot gives you your max attack speed that you can get.
Yeah. Right.
And I think that'll help you as well. Like I said before, right, where classes need their attack speed +1 in the inner ability. If you can... The faster you learn, and the faster your body learns, like how fast you have to press your keys and how fast you can go into your attacks, the quicker you can get used to like shifting between one mechanic and a boss and another, and between one whole boss fight and another one, because your muscle memory will just take over, because you know how to telecast and how to do everything. So getting used to decent speed infusion here, and bossing, maybe even over the bind, would be a good idea. And then if you're bossing, I'd probably take out Holy Symbol instead.
Yeah.
Holy Symbol is a nice one to look at once your boost nodes get to a higher level, because of the extra EXP and the drop rate, right? Drop rate for nodes, very important. And then the EXP, of course, just for leveling faster. So when it comes to that, that's pretty big. And from what I understand, your 4th V, I don't know the name, the one on the top right, from what I understand, that one is a big part of your burst. So for bossing, that one would be pretty important. I imagine that all the other skills, when you're mobbing, they basically already kill things very quickly. So leveling them for mobbing doesn't really do much. It's mainly for bossing, where you can commit your damage. That's where you wanna prioritize.
Right.
So yeah, yeah.
No, I was just reminded. I've been planning on using these in speed infusion. I've just forgotten.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, sometimes you just need a refresher. That's all.
Yeah.
And when it comes to your boost nodes, are you fully up to speed on like what you're going for there eventually?
I wouldn't say up to speed. I've been looking into it and asking around, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, but there's like a little bit of a debate on what your 6th skill is that you take. But there's like 5 skills you level, right? There's like Finishing Blow, Dark Shock, Condemnation, and then I guess Sweeping Stuff, Dark Genesis. Because like one trio is all well and good, but there's like, if there's still a decent amount of skills that you also use that aren't being boosted at all, you might as well just boost those as well, because you do have a lot of slots eventually. So eventually we do get a second trio in there, and then it depends. I think most people go for Battle Burst over Dark Chain. Some people just, it's like personal preference, but I think most people go for Battle Burst as their like 3rd skill in the second trio. So I don't know what your current... I'm not 100% hero with like... That's quintuple.
I'm gonna check.
Is that quadruple? Wait, do you have the other screen? Yeah. Quintuple blow. Oh yeah, finishing blow, the 6th one. Yeah, jeez, how many... so many different kind of blows going on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Yeah, so you have 2 Dark Genesis, 2 shot. Oh no, this is the older number probably, so it might be off a little bit.
Oh yeah, right.
That's 2 Dark Genesis, and then 1 Dark Shock, 1 Sweeping Staff, 1 of the little Demon Dude, and then 2 Final Blow, and 1 Quintuple, and what is the one on the bottom right, the top one? What is that one?
Wait, which one?
The level 9 one? What is this? The skill on top. What is that skill? Is that the battle?
It's the Battle Burst.
The battle burst.
So Sweeping Staff, Battle Burst, and Condemnation.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so in all, this setup seems pretty good, except that that level 4 one has the quintuple blow or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's not ideal, but that's like fixable later. And then you need to get your... You're just looking for your last Trinode, I guess?
Yes.
So anything that starts with, what, Condemnation or Dark Shock, I guess? Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, I guess
I'm gonna be honest, I'm super bad at V-Matrix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the mixing and matching is...
Yeah, like the setup I have now, I've gotten help with because I'm useless at it.
Yeah, so you still need 1 Condemnation, 1 Dark Shock, 1 Sweeping Staff, and 1 Battle Burst. But one of those 4 will be on the level 4 node. And then the other 3 will have to be on the same one. So it's best, quote unquote, to keep your any kind of Dark Genesis ones you get that have any of those skills and the finishing blow, to hold on to that one for now, because you might have to use the level 4 as food for that one, rather than using that one as food for level 4 if you don't find the other perfect trinode, right? Because the sooner you lock in, like, okay, this node I'm going to start leveling, the sooner you limit your options of other nodes that will complement that node into the perfect total amount of having everything distributed among your boost nodes.
Yeah.
So the later you lock in, but the more you keep your options open, the faster you'll be able to get to, like, okay, these are the 4, and then you can go hard, and then you can disassemble everything that's not part of those 4, and then you can start feeding that into more boost nodes, and then once you get to, like, I don't know, once you get to, like, above level 20, like level 21, 22-ish, usually like around 20 actually, then I start shifting, I think it's important to start shifting priority towards the skill nodes, and then definitely towards like Holy Symbol and your, I keep forgetting the name, but like your 4th V, the last one, right, with the teleporters that you teleport to, right, with the big lightning.
Yeah, Abyssal Lightning.
Yeah, Abyssal Lightning, because that's like a huge part of your burst. So if you want to go hard during the bossing and stuff, that one's going to be very important.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely work on the boost nodes, right? Because both mobbing and bossing, and it's up all the time, so you're doing constant damage with that. So you want to make sure that those are working. Yeah, especially like the Dark Shock, right? With your telecasting upwards through the boss and that kind of stuff. That adds up to a lot of damage. Sweeping stuff that you can like spam sometimes for some extra hits. That helps quite a bit. Yeah, so those skills. But yeah, as long as you have those like skills in a list, and you have those mentally, and if you're just opening nodes, you very quickly be able to see like, oh, this one I have to maybe look at, and this one is just like either extract or just feed into what I already have. It's a very low amount of nodes that you have to be on the lookout for. There's only like 3 starting skills, and it's a total of 4 skills that you need to look at, which does mean that you'll probably get a lot of useless ones, but you know, shards and feed them.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that all makes sense, and with the decent speed infusion and everything.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I guess the next one I think is pretty useful. I'm not sure about, well, maybe for mobbing and for bossing. Mana Overload is very good. Even at level 1.
Mana Overload?
Yeah. I believe you can use that one, right? That's like a general mage one? Or am I mistaken there?
Yeah, might be right. I can't remember what it does at the moment.
All mages, yeah. Basically, even at level 1, you just toggle it on. It makes all your skills use part of extra MP, like quite a lot of MP, but it's 8% final damage immediately, just if you have it on or off. So for bossing, it can be a little bit weird, like your mana can start draining quickly, which just means, you just use a few more potions. It's not
Yeah.
that big of a deal. If you're not a mana class, it starts consuming HP, and then it could be a bit tricky. But it's 8% final damage just to turn it on, even at level 1, which is actually a huge amount.
Yeah.
So that will probably be like one of the next skills that you're looking for. I don't see the other skills that you have saved up. Oh yeah, here I see it, yeah. Yeah, this is probably fine. Yeah, if you get extra decent skills, you just feed them in. Yeah, like with Sharp Rise and with the Bind, you just feed them in, it's fine. I wouldn't go crafting any extra. Like, the only decent that would craft extra is Holy Symbol. And the things you can automatically get rid of is things like the Mystic Door and the Hyper Body, right? You can just get rid of those immediately.
Yeah.
Those are just dead weight. But yeah, other than that, it looks fine. Okay. Any Matrix questions?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, then we'll move on for now. If something comes to mind, let me know.
Yeah.
I guess that gets us through all of the setup stuff. Did you participate a lot in the Neo event? Like, do you have coins left and things left to buy? Because it's like the last day. Do you need any?
I think I've spent everything.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, the last 2 weeks, I wasn't. I didn't play that much.
Okay. Do you have access to the heart? The fairy heart? Because I noticed that you do have the Lydium heart here, which is, not that great.
Yeah, no, that's just basically better than nothing.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is, and the only thing it is.
I could never afford the heart.
Okay, yeah, you're not close enough to that. Okay.
Yeah, I should have prioritized that.
Yeah, well, there you go again with using should have, okay? I want you to be careful with that and not make yourself feel like bad about everything that you do, okay? Like,
yeah, okay.
The way I like to think of it is like that would have been more optimal. Like, and then you can be like, well, but I didn't, so now you try to make the decisions now knowing that, because it's easy to get bogged down, because that's what the game does, and that's what a lot of things in society do, is like they try to make you feel bad for your own decisions, but they set you up to feel bad about that, right? Like, that's preconceived to making you feel horrible, so that's on them, that's not on you. Okay,
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, for this and like in general and for everyone at home, because this is like FOMO, right? They want you to feel like, hey, there's an opportunity for this, and then if you don't get it, they want you to feel bad if you don't get it. But they've hidden it behind a wall. They've made it harder for you purposefully to get, so that you have to work harder on getting it. That's why I think it's important when there's a new patch coming out, you just skim through the patch first time and you see like, is there anything that I really want here? And if you want it, then look up like how much work is it going to be, and then you decide if you want it or not. If it's like, okay, I kind of want this, oh, it's too much work, I don't want it anymore. I kind of want this, oh, this is a fair amount of work, I can do this, and then you do it, and then you go for it, and then you do the daily. And then purposefully, like, I'm going for this specific thing, I'm deciding to do this. And not like, oh, there's an event, I have to participate in everything, because there might be a bunch of stuff in the shop maybe that I miss out on, right? That's what they kind of want you to do. They want you to, like, panic buy almost, or, like, panic spend your time to do everything. And then at the end of the event, like, oh my god, I have like 30,000 currency and nothing to buy. I guess I'll just buy all this stuff. And what do you buy? Stuff that makes your character stronger, and maybe a second or a third character stronger. And then you feel bad that you're not playing the second or third character because you now invested in making it stronger, but you're not playing it. And then you feel bad for not, and you're getting played basically the whole time. So it's important to like stay in control and be like, I want to do these things. I want to achieve this thing with the character. So I'm going to take this and this and this step and participate in this and this event so that I can make that happen faster, and so I can enjoy my time while I'm playing. And not, not like, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, you should be doing that. Because after a while, they'll kind of weigh on you. And I think that's what also leads to a lot of people like quitting again after a while, because it's like, well, I don't want to have to do 16 hours of dailies every day, and I feel bad for not doing them. And then after a while, it's just like, it's too much pressure, it's too much of a hassle, it's just chores, If I wanted to do the dishes, I would do that, and like, I'm not logging in to do my laundry and to do my dishes, and like, I want to play the game and have fun, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, that's like maybe reading a little bit too much into the to the should, but I'm pretty allergic to should. Like if people in the chat are like, hey, you should do this, it's like, hey, you should not tell me what I should do, because I get to make my own decisions, right? It's like my time,
that's very
my
reasonable.
thing. Yeah. Well, not many people agree with you, but I appreciate that. Yeah. Okay. True. Yeah. So okay. So the hard stuff, the table, Hotel Maple. When it comes to the totems, you probably heard a little bit about that. There's totems in the current event. If you really like what they look like, you can go for that. But I don't think it's really worth the time from like an efficiency standpoint. So you get to decide what you want to do there.
Right.
It's only like a little bit of stats, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I haven't looked into the new event as much as I wanted to, but I will.
Ah, I see. Wanted to. Did you want to say should?
I was close.
Yeah, you're close. How much is I should have wanted to? Yes, there you go.
I wanted to,
Yeah, you're learning. Good. Yeah, so the medal, we want to get the Monster Parker medal there, right? So every day you can do up to 7 runs. If you just do 2 free runs, that's fine too. It'll just take longer if you feel like it. If it's something that you notice you're keeping until the last moment, either do it immediately or, skip a day every now and then. That's fine. Yeah. But there's, extra benefits. With the current event, there's also like a skill point tree where you can get more experience from Monster Park, and you can even get additional box rewards. And that's also where the coins come from that you want to have for the Monster Park potions, right? You use these? Sounds like a no. So there's the green one.
I have some, but
yeah. So if you do Monster Park every day, you'll always have them, and you can, whenever you're doing anything serious like a boss or like a long training session, you can always have them on, and they become like a baseline thing. Again, that's kind of a danger, because if you don't like doing the content and you get used to it, then you'll feel bad for not having it, right? Because you'll feel weaker and slower. So you can protect yourself in that you don't set yourself up for something that's going to feel bad in the future. But I think this is like a good daily to do every day, and that you can reliably build a lot of potions with, so you can always have the green pot up. That'll be important to get your speed infusion to work and to get to the highest rank attack speed. And with a green pot and with the speed infusion, you'll find immediately that your character is like way more mobile and way faster to do all of its skills. And that'll be like the speed potential of the character. And the blue one can give you a little bit of extra damage. Mainly that's only for bossing. For mobbing, it's usually not enough of a difference to make, big enough of a buff to make a difference. And then the gold one is double the price, but the gold one is for extra EXP and stacks with all the other sources, so that's just going to help you get trained faster. And if you have enough of a bank, this will also help you with Legion and growing all of your Legion characters faster. So combine that with the Lynx and the Legion and the Monster Park buffs, etc., etc., etc. Every new character is going to be way faster coming up. But there's a build-up phase, right?
Yeah, of course.
Then the other thing that's very important, of course, is your WSE, right? Weapon Secondary Emblem. So at this point, basically with this, so you want to kind of throw all of the potential lines onto one big pile, and then kind of see like, what is the total I'm getting out of it? What is the total ID, total boss damage, total weapon attack, magic attack in your case, and how does that affect my damage? There's like a calculator that can kind of keep track of how much you're going for, how much you're aiming for. Part of that calculator is throwing all of your IED in, so you can know your functional IED, right? And that's the number that you can then compare with. I think I have a WSE video. You can check that out. I basically go over the calculator, how to put in the numbers. Basically, you go by IED sources, and you just go through the list, see how much you have, put those numbers into the calculator, and then it'll give you a certain number. Then you can use that number and put it into the weapon, secondary, and emblem calculator, like what your base IED is. And then the calculator will tell you, okay, well, this many lines of IED, this many lines of boss, and this many lines of magic attack will give you the biggest increase in your final damage output on bosses with 300% armor. So all of the relevant ones, Lotus, Damien, and up. So what it will come down to for you, most likely, like my prediction, I guess, is definitely to get 1 line of IED. Maybe 2 will also be really close to the other stuff, but that's because you don't have the IED yet from the familiars, and because maybe your functional IED isn't as high as it can be because of the Link skill setup, and yeah, mainly because of that. Yeah, and you don't have Gollix yet, and you know your Legion grid isn't that big yet, etc., etc. Once you get to 3K Legion, you can set up 13% in your Legion grid, so that'll be pretty nice. Add the familiars, add one big line of ID on your WSE, and add the other little sources. Calculate the functional, get to level 40 at least for your boost nodes for the 20% functional, and you'll be at like 91, 92 functional, like where we want you to be. Again, a little bit lower than normal because you're a support, that's okay. And you can get by with that until the chunk in your Legion gets way bigger, until you can get the Helix set bonus, you know, from Superior Gollix, and then this is something that the Battlemage, Discord will be able to give you more info about. Like, then they'll be able to tell you, like, okay, that's the point where you can just completely roll out of IED. You don't need it anymore, depending on the potential. So let's say we roll the emblem in this situation, let's say, and you can roll something like 30% IED, and then 9 magic attack and maybe 9% intellect, or no, something useful on the third line.
Yeah.
If you roll if you roll 40 IED and 9 magic attack and 9 magic attack, you probably keep that for almost ever, you know, because you can build around that. You can use the IED, and then you can go, oh, familiars, we can just go boss damage into familiars instead, you know, and then you don't have to rely on the IED there anymore. Or you go a little bit lower in the Legion grid, or you take away 1 or 2 of the low IED link skills, you know, then you build your puzzle around this, because those other pieces, those are very easily interchangeable. You can move a Legion piece, you can move your hyperstats around, that's simple. But redoing your potential on your weapon secondary and emblem is expensive as hell, and so those are the pieces that will then decide where does everything else go, and then you can shift the puzzle around. So working on the shield, that's probably going to be a good idea, right? Get the recipe from Normal Cygnus, get the pieces, level up the smithing, and start working on a shield. Once you have backups, maybe you can get to enough backups to for the 5, 10, 15 coming in, that's like in 3 weeks, right? 3 weekends. To maybe go towards like a 17-star shield, because that's like a lot of magic attack, right? Because from everything I saw, star forcing is going to be the main thing for you to work on.
Yeah,
because,
I'm aware of that.
because your stat is really good. It's right where you want it to be. But that comes with a huge but, right? Because your gear is really good. So I'm concluding that for mobbing, you're killing everything very reliably. Is that true? You have no trouble killing things? Yeah. So you're going to be killing things faster, right? With the decent speed infusion, with the green pots and everything. And so we want to be optimizing on your experience there. When it comes to bossing, and the other thing we can optimize on there is probably we can take some damage away and replace it with utility. So when it comes to weapon secondary and emblem, like, okay, so you probably want to get your weapon to 17, because the weapon also still makes good gains between 10 and 15 in magic attack. That's going to be important. And getting it to 17 eventually is going to be useful. 1 line of IED probably on the emblem, and then work on the shield kind of in the background, right? You don't have to like actively spend a lot of money on it, but if you have Master Craftsman cubes and you have some Meister cubes and other items, you would kind of ruin them with those cubes, you can throw them on the shield instead for like a chance of tearing up. The main thing besides that I would say would be, well, you know, you're saving up money all the time because for star forcing and for 5, 10, 15. But I think the main thing for you to work on is to work on the foundation. So it's possible that the 5, 10, 15 is a little bit too early for you. Maybe it would be ideal if you got that like another month from now, because I think the best gains for you right now is to work on your drop rate and your meso set, and to get to 5 lines of meso, 4 lines of drop rate that you can have in your set.
Right.
So that when you exchange all your accessories, you still have your kill speed, right? And then it's important the dailies and important the node stone levels, but that you won't take too much power away, because the accessories is not where too much power comes from, and you replace it with utility instead, so you can make way more money while you're training. So when those events come out, when those cube sales come out, when those Star Force events come out, then you have a lot of money saved up, and then you can go hard.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that, which items accessory-wise, so let's see what you have. So these are your damage rings. We got the reinforced, the reboot awake, the Kana treasure, and the chaos ring. Okay. Got the 5 magic. Okay. And then... And this is also damage, right? Reinforced belt and earring?
Yes. Right.
And the Chaos Horntail and the Sweetwater. But yeah, so you're working on the Narrows and everything, right? For the eye and the face.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it comes to the pendant, because I see you have legendary pendant. Are you aware of like transposing, how all that works?
I'm not sure. Maybe I do if you explain it, but I don't know the word.
Well, hopefully if I explain it, you will know, because then the explanation.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how that works. Yeah, so the goal is to get the strongest possible item in the slot, right? Some items have potential to be the strongest, but not by themselves. They need help. So that's when transposing comes in. Like a Sweetwater pendant has the ability to be to buy backups for when you boom it past 17 stars, because you can just buy multiple with the Narrows, and because it's level 160, it gets a lot of bonus stats from Starforce, and the potential lines go up to 13, 10, 10, which gives it the best potential. Now the big downside is that you cannot get a good flame on it, right? It doesn't have flame advantage. Are you aware of flame advantage and flame disadvantage?
Yeah.
You can say no.
Yeah, well, I know some about it.
You know some about it, yeah. So an item, just certain item names, just either they have flame advantage or they don't. Typically, it's a lot of stuff that doesn't exist in KMS, is really strong already by itself and doesn't have flame advantage as a result to kind of like balance out the power balance and the creep of the gear. But like Sweetwater accessories don't have flame advantage. Gollux equips don't have flame advantage. Those are like the most important ones, right? Those are the most important ones that are still like best in slot and that you're working with. Some boss accessories don't. Like you see the Horntail necklace, like the flame 8, 14, 8, and like that's it. Like that's not flame advantage. That's really weak, right? You see the earrings next to it, 3 attack, 3 all stat. Like that could be really decent flame actually, like for this stage of the game. But that's also not flame advantage. You see something else at the same level, around level 140, right? Like the do you have a pink holy cup down here? Yeah. So this one is like 40, 40, 25, 20, and 5. Like that, like those numbers are, that's flame advantage, right? Those are the big numbers. Or even the aquatic letter I accessory, like this one has a 5% all stat line. Like you'll never see that in flame disadvantage. It just doesn't go that high. So that way you can use like the visual indicator already to kind of see like, oh, this item probably does and this item probably doesn't, because of that difference in numbers. Right. So we want to build the 2 sets. So so transposing. So the reason that we transpose, and it's only from items between, I believe, level 140 and 159, I think, or 155. Those can transpose into Sweetwater items, either equips or accessories. For equips, we only do it with the Katara. And then for accessories, ideally we do it with the Dominator pendant into the Sweetwater pendant. And then we do it with the, I'm blanking, the Papulatus mark into the Sweetwater monocle, if you find one. Of course, that drop is very, very rare. So typically you do Star Force a monocle by itself and maybe even a little bit further. And even potential it, to higher rank, because the Pap mark is just going to take forever to get. When it comes to the pendant, it is something that is not as important to get by itself. And it's best to just wait until you get a good Dominator with a good flame, right? Because that's the power of... so part of the power of transposing is that you get to an item that you can replenish and that has the higher tier and that gets the better stats on, because it's a higher level for Star Forcing. But the other part is that you can... There's 2 other parts, and in the power of transposing, what happens is that the flame is transported with it. So like when you Star Force, you don't bring the flame with you, right? But when you transpose, you do bring the flame with you. And that way, because we use those items to transpose, because the source item has flame advantage and the target does not have it. And that way you can move those flames over. And the other thing that also happens is when you transpose at a certain amount of Star Force, it consumes 1 Star Force, just like with Transfer Hammer. But something else happens, and some of the bonus stats get imprinted onto the item, giving you extra bonus stats. And the best amount of Star Force to do that is 16. That's when you get the best combination of imprinted bonus stats plus extra bonus stats because of the level advantage through Star Forcing. So 16 and then a good flame score. You want to get to that first, and 16 stars, and then you want to try to transpose into Sweetwater, and then you want to start Star Forcing onto Sweetwater and working on the potential and all of that. Now, if you already have this one and it's already legendary, We don't want to use this one to transpose because you'll lose the legendary. But so we can still use this eventually as like a drop or whatever, right? Because when you have a drop set bonuses are very minor. The stats are very minor. It usually just comes down to what is the utility of the potential. That's where most of the value is. So we still want to make sure that we use that value in the independent. So right now we'll use it for damage. We'll probably later use it for drop rate. And it's not like, if it was 33% intellect, that would be really painful. But it's quote-unquote just 20, which, again, right now is really good for you. But eventually it will be something that's very easy for you to get back to. So it'll be a small price to pay, and we can still take some value out of that without feeling bad about it. So, also, I'm sorry that I'm kind of rushing, but I do have Guild PQ in 10 minutes, so I want to make sure that we get through everything. So, if it go a little bit too fast, hopefully when you rewatch on YouTube, play back on 0.5% speed, and then, everything will work fine.
Yeah.
So, with all that being said, I think it's fine the current aquatic ladder eye accessory is 21. So, basically what will happen is if you get to 2 sets of everything, whatever the potential is that you get on the item, that will decide where you use it. Either when you use it in damage gear or in the drop rate gear. That'll just decide it. And then if it has flame advantage, you can get an okay flame on it if it's for bossing. If it's for mobbing, it's not even that important. And then later, once the set bonuses become really, really important, like let's say that you have a superior ring, and you get it to legendary, and it gets like a line of drop and 2 lines of intellect or something, or 1 line of intellect, well, now it's just your drop ring. Then later, once everything is 17 star, everything is legendary and 2 star, you're thinking about transposing, you're going for the full superior Golux set, and everything is like Sweetwater and superior Golux basically. At that point, then you want to really make a really tough distinction between like, these are the best items, these get damage, these are the lesser items, these get drop or mezzo. But in the beginning, if something gets drop or mezzo, boom, it's part of your set, and you just wear that. And then, because you need to get that value of that investment back first before you start making any like really difficult decisions. So with that being said, any item that is already legendary and that will not be part of the total final set is probably a good candidate to reroll right now into mezzo and drop, because you will lose minimal damage and gain maximum utility while you're training. So so you're working on the dineros. Are you working on the short-term approach or the long-term approach for backups?
I'm not sure.
I'm guessing that you're probably working on the short-term, right? You're doing like a few Rosas and a few... what is it?
Yeah, I found a guide that I've just been following.
Mm-hmm. That's just to optimize daily dineros?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's kind of the short-term approach. It'll get you to where you can purchase the accessories very quickly. And, if you're just going to safeguard and get up to 17 stars and get good legendary potential, then that's fine. Then that's just okay to do. If eventually you want to go beyond, you go to venture into the realm of booming, which will happen, and then needing backups and everything, there's another approach that would be more efficient. So for the short term, you could definitely just keep doing what you're doing until you can afford it. But if you want to go beyond, if you check !commercy in my chat, there's basically that as well. There's like, on the one hand, there's that approach, and they'll probably be echoing the same thing that you found. And then on the other hand is the other approach for the long term. To basically what you do is you build up your boat, level up your boat, and invest more dineros in that first. And then when you get to the level 3 boat, you'll be able to do much shorter dailies every day and make way more dineros per day. But there's like a break-even point, right? Like if you don't do enough days, if you don't need enough dineros, then it's not efficient. But if you go beyond that point, it becomes more and more efficient the longer you go. So that's just so you know your options there. Like there's not just one way to do that. So with that being said, if you get your other eye accessory, you get it to legendary, and it rolls more intellect than this one. That means we can roll this one and get drop rate or mezzo on this one, right? If you roll the other one and it gets drop rate or mezzo obtain, you just use it for drop rate or mezzo obtain for now, and you just use this one for damage.
Yeah.
Right? Because this one is already 21, so that's already really high anyway. And it has okay flame, and it's part of the set bonus, which you'll probably be using now. So it does its thing, right? The other item will need to go up to 17 to be good. Doesn't have a set, doesn't have flame advantage, So it's either way, it's not like a bad outcome. If you get utility out of it, you get a utility out of it. Same thing with the condensed power crystal. You get the tattoo. If it gets damage, upgrade this one to legendary and go for drop. If it gets drop, you can use this one for damage. It's already 9%, so that's already like pretty good as well. And a set bonus, so as long as you can do the content that you want to do, you're okay. It says a good flame, right? So for Iron Face, it just depends on what the potential that you get. When it comes to the earring, yeah, you already have a unique one, and it's 15%. I feel comfortable just going to legendary on this one. With all the accessories, so you're aiming for 5 lines of meso obtain, 4 lines of drop rate, and so because it's 9 accessories in total, right? So 9 total lines. Ideally, you want all of those accessories to also have 1 line of intellect on it, so you don't lose too much damage. You know, and you have 9 equips. All have 9% intellect. That's 81% intellect, right? That's a nice chunk to help you safeguard your kill speed when you're mobbing. So that means that if you are working on these accessories and you get to like, oh, let's say you have like 6 with drop and 3 with meso, you have to reroll 2 of the drop ones to meso. Always reroll the items that don't have intellect on it first, and then, you know, and so that you're helping yourself get to that situation where everything has intellect on it as well. In terms of priorities. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think the necklace, the Horntail necklace, is a good example of probably the first item we'll do, right? To reroll into meso and drop. It's already legendary. Just a few red cubes can probably do it. If you get like a 6% all or a 9% intellect on the second or third line, that should be very doable. You lose barely any intellect, but you gain a lot of utility here, and you can start just printing money. And so that's a good item to switch over. That doesn't mean you'll lose some damage when you're bossing, but it does mean like doing normal arc every day is a very good daily if you're not doing that one yet. Chance of Dominator, chance of wealth and experience accumulation potions, chance of primal essences for later to make Meister rings with. Normal arc, very, very important daily.
Okay.
And it should be very fast as well if you like, you know what you're doing. You know he has those full map AoEs. Maybe take an iframe with you. Yeah, maybe take a ethereal form with you, right, if you need to. Or take your bind with you, because you can just wait until he doesn't attack him a little bit, bind him, burst him down. Should be pretty fast with how strong you are.
Yeah.
But that's like a very short but important daily. And it's like just a few minutes a day. But over the long term, right, the sooner you start doing it regularly, once you get to the point where you're like, okay, now I have a lot of money. Now there's an event. Now I want to go hard. If you didn't do the pre-work of doing the daily, the boss, you'll have nothing to spend the money on. And then you're kind of just like sitting, and then you end up with like, you know, 12-star, Star Force, everything, 3-line legendary, which is good gear, but it's not balanced good gear, right? You're overcompensating on the potential because the other Star Force is low, for example. Or you end up with 17-star, you know, and then everything is kind of like cucked at 17 stars, even though past 17 is like huge gains. But you can't take that risk if you don't have backups, but you can't have backups if you don't do the bosses. So that's kind of the point where the should kind of comes in. Like if you want to go that far, then you should be doing the dailies. But if you don't feel like you want to do the dailies, that's fine. But you just have to note that that will limit you to some extent.
Right.
So Dominator Pendant will come in later. The Superior Gollix Pendant will come in. Then these two will basically just become your drop rate pendants. You can decide to keep your Sweetwater Pendant like this and not to lose too much damage at once, and work on other items first. But again, this one is already legendary as well, so this one is already really close to gaining you that utility of drop rate and meso as well very quickly. So I would put this guy pretty high on the list as well to start converting over to drop and meso. The earrings are already unique, so again, like I'm looking for the items that are already the closest, right? Those are the ones where you can start capitalizing on the gains the fastest. So the unique earrings are also really close already. If they had the potential of the belt, then I would say the same thing as with the aquatic letter eye accessories, like maybe look for another item, you know, because then you're losing a lot of intellect immediately. But since it's 2-line, you know, even if you get to legendary, you're probably going to get like 6 or 9% intellect, so you're only losing 6 or 9%, and you're gaining the utility, so it's still pretty close. So for reinforced, I feel comfortable enough getting that one to legendary and going to the same, and making it a drop and meso equip as well. So I think that gives us 5, so then all we need is the rings situation, right? Do you have extra rings besides these?
I have, let's see.
Because there was a... Yeah, this was just the backup.
Reboot Vengeful, Silver Blossom.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the two. So Silver Blossom and the Reboot Vengeful.
Reboot Vengeful, yeah.
One is legendary, that's the Vengeful, and the other one is just epic.
Okay. Okay, that's already pretty good. So reinforced eventually becomes damage ring is already at 21. The awake is at 18. So I'll just purely look at like how much do I lose when I roll out of this, right?
Yeah.
So I would say the reboot Vengeful and the Chaos seem like prime re-rolling real estate to me. To immediately get some intellect and some drop and mezzo out of it. Of course, like the current event, if you had some of those rings, that would make it really easy. Some of these, for kind of treasure, you can get backups, right? Are you doing Princess Snow on a weekly basis?
I try to.
Yeah. Because there's a chance for getting backup rings. So you could even do like 1 damage kind of treasure ring and 1 drop rate kind of treasure ring if you want to, right?
Yeah.
And then keep extra backups. So yeah, when it comes to damaging rings, Superior Ring will come into play, Meister Ring will come into play, and then probably Reinforced and kind of treasure is what you'll stick with. So that's 4. And then if you have the Vengeful and the Chaos and the Awake, then you're missing like a 4th one there. So you can work on the Silver Blossom now. If you don't have any other ring, that's fine. So you can work on that one. So I think, yeah, Silver Blossom, Vengeful, Chaos, and the... and probably in this situation, the Awake. And it actually perfectly lines up with your potential as well. Technically, those 2 have the weakest potential as well out of the 4. So that'd be perfect. So if you do re-roll those, let's say that your Reboot Awake re-rolls to 21 intellect before anything else, then re-roll the Kana Treasure Ring for drop instead, right? Let the potential guide what your decision is. And sometimes that means just going 1 cube at a time. It's like, oh, this one rolls 24 now? Okay, back to the other ring. This one rolls 30%? Back to the other ring, you know? At the end of the day, that will feel annoying, but at the end of the day, you're getting crazy gains out of it, so, that'll be worth it.
Yeah.
So start with the items that are already really close, work on those first, you make your money faster, you can work on the next one, and that'll start snowballing as well. Just like the Legion, just like the Link skills, it'll all start going faster and faster, and all the training sessions will feel more fun. We talked about like the totems, right? So you'll have more access to totems. Maybe you get a nice familiar with some drop rate. All of it starts working together, and it'll the efficiency is not the word I'm looking for, but like the rendement, just like the value, I guess. Just like the value from your time will just go up, and in general, that'll just feel good.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so that's like, I think, the huge move to work on. So it is possible. I would prioritize that. It's possible that means that when the 5, 10, 15 rolls around, you don't have much money at all to spend on Star Forcing. If that's the case, I would, like prioritize your weapon with whatever money you have, and maybe work on the shield a little bit. But other than that, it's fine, because the main event you want right now is either a 1+1 Star Force or a 30% off to get everything to 15 first.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking for. And hopefully by the time that event rolls around, you'll have the Dominator Pennant. You'll have maybe 1 or 2 superior pieces, and then you'll be making much more money, right? And by the time that event rolls around, you'll have all the cash you need to push everything to 15 stars. And then you wait at 15 for the next 5, 10, 15 event. And then you push everything to 17.
Yeah.
I think that'll be the main move. And then what you're going to be thinking of, then you're going to be making much more droplets, right? And then you're going to be thinking of switching your weapon to the arcane weapon and everything. Because by that time, you've been killing Lucid for a while, right, with your friends, because you got much stronger. And then, well, faster also, but much stronger. And then, you can build up those Lucid droplets, and then you can put all those droplets from the winter event that are coming, you can put all those to work and make a huge upgrade with your weapon.
Yeah.
I think that's how everything kind of fits together, and like the general priority of going for your equips. And then, just work on 17. And then when it comes to going past 17, by that time, you've been doing Root Abyss for a while. You have a lot of backups there. You've been doing those dailies and those weeklies. And wherever you have the most backups, that's where you take the risk, because that's where the risk is the lowest.
Alright. Sounds good.
All right, is there anything I went over or any piece of equipment that you still have question about? If there's any like system that you specifically just want to get like more in depth with, whether it's like flaming and the flame scores and all of that, or whether it's transposing and transfer hammering and when to use that exactly, I have videos on all of that specifically and commands in the chat that you can use that will give you a link. Or if you can't find the info, there's always someone in chat who knows. I have a full list of all my commands. I don't know if you've seen that, where you can find all of them. And if you Control F, if you like search in this one, you can pretty much always find whatever you're looking for. It's like 200 commands or some shit at this point.
Oh, yeah.
185,
yeah. That's a
so
lot.
yeah, most of it is like linked through here. And then if you have, again, right, like just like with the Battlemage Discord, if you then have a specific question because you've looked at it and you're like, this still doesn't answer this specific thing I have, then you can ask a specific question and it'll be way easier to answer for me or for anyone in the chat. Because people in the chat have heard me explain it like 15 times now, so they'll probably give you the same answer that I give people.
Yeah, true.
I've trained my my minions.
Very well.
Yes. Yeah, so that's the general order I would do things in. So yeah, don't feel too bad if an event like a 5, 10, 15, if you can't fully capitalize on it. As long as you know in the long term where you're going for, that you can always, it's not a guarantee, but they're pretty much always coming back. So eventually you'll get to the next one. Answer bot reporting for duty. Yeah, exactly. They're all at the ready, all eager to help as well, just as I am. Yeah, I don't think there's any chapter we specifically went over. Yeah, you already got nice backups for CRA, because you really don't need all that many.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you see you have the Princess No pieces, so you're doing Princess No. Some nodes, Alex. Yeah. Okay, anything that comes to mind right now? Any piece of equipment where you're still unsure what you should do with it?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not that I can come up with right now.
All right. Well, I'll consider that a job well done for me then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything really glaring? I guess the one thing to mention is once you have enough crit rate, rolling the Absolute gloves for critical damage instead is very beneficial. Again, right? Critical damage very high up on the gains. Glove is the only exception there, right? Like the WSE is very important with the IED and the boss and the attack. Other than that, it's only really the glove that gets some special treatment in critical damage. For some classes, they want like cooldown reduction on the hat and stuff like that. As far as I know, that's not really a thing for Battlemage. But yeah, like critical damage on the glove is maybe like, when you get to the point of cubing some more. Typically people do that with black cubes, but I guess at this point you could also use red cubes because you're not really trying to get those double lines at this point.
Yeah.
But just one line of critical damage is typically worth around 30% or a little bit higher depending on the class that you're playing. So if you can get critical damage plus maybe some stat, that would be like doubling the potential basically on the glove. So comparatively that's really good. But other than that, I don't see any crazy stuff. Yeah, like if you have potential like your eye and like your belt, you just keep it unique for like a long time. Don't worry about, it's kind of a mental thing when you're opening your window and you see like 2 yellow things and everything else is green, right?
Yes.
Maybe some peer pressure, like why is that still unique? Why is it not legendary yet?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if you're planning on tiering it up only to get back to the same amount of percent, that's just money down the drain. If you can spend that money getting better gains somewhere else, then you just prioritize other stuff first, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I will upload it. If you do go through it and there's some things you did want to ask, just message me on Discord or just, find me live on stream, and then me or one of my helpful assistants in the chat will be able to guide you towards. They'll probably link you a command to check out, and then you check that one out, and then yeah. Hopefully it'll be clear at that point, or if it's still a question, either specifically for the Battlemage Discord at that point, or someone in chat will be able to help you out.
All right. That sounds great.
Okay, awesome. Well, and we almost managed to do... Well, I think we did it exactly an hour and a half because we started a little bit late, so I think that's actually perfectly on time.
That's good.
Yeah, for me, because I'm horrible at keeping time properly. Most of these sessions are like over 2 hours and they're supposed to be 1.5, so,
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, my time management, not perfect, but... Okay, yeah, so let me know if there's anything, and otherwise I will wish you the best of luck, and I hope you and your friends can clear Lucid, and that you can feel like you're bringing enough to the table and you know what you're doing, right? That you're not just along for the ride, kind of like just avoiding attacks and then not doing much, right? Hopefully we can get to the point where it's actually enjoyable, you look forward to doing the boss, and you feel that well, now that you know about the elemental advantage and stuff, you know that you're actually carrying their ass and it's not the other way around, right? You can help them survive bombs and dragons and all that stuff, and yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, well, good luck, and I'll see you around.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, no problem. Bye.
Bye. Okay, awesome.
So another Battlemage in the making, going to be carrying their team to victory. Battlemage is definitely one of the rather undervalued classes. It's definitely tricky, and it's not one of the big, huge damage dealers themselves, of course. But if played well, they bring a lot of utility to the team, both in survivability and in damage output. And they can put some damage on the board as well with that Abyssal Lightning skill that they got recently. So don't count them off too quickly. Of course, you know, there's Kanas and everything. There's definitely other supports that are more hardcore supports and better damage dealers, but, you know, we can't all play the exact same class, and not everyone loves the exact same class, you know. But yeah, we talked about some of the fundamentals, you know, like getting your traits leveled up, and, you know, getting your IED and your crit rate, all of that. Some of the more advanced stuff. And we went not super in-depth with all of the mechanics, but again, you can always use my commands in the chat under ! commands. You get that whole list here of all of the commands that I have. Yeah, that just have extra videos, extra links, wiki pages, everything that will explain a bunch of stuff to you if you need more explanation on specific topics. But hopefully for people in the same scenario and who had like the same level of understanding of everything, hopefully I was able to elevate your understanding to a higher level and to get a better grasp on where's everything kind of situated in the game, what is the importance of upgrading to certain points, and where do you yourself indicate the situation of the game, or the, what should I say, like the area of the game where you need to where spending time will be the most efficient, right? So keep an eye on the progression grid, look at your level, look at the numbers. If you're way above something, that means that area does not require your attention as much, and spending time there is not as efficient. If you love doing it, don't stop doing it, but keep it in balance with everything, right? Try to maintain the balance. So hopefully this grid will help you maintain that balance so you can do all the content around your level. And yeah, just best of luck with everything. And let me know. Catch me live on Twitch if you want to. And if you have data for me in forms of battle analysis, monster skill per hour, or training videos of you in the newer maps where we're still trying to figure everything out, make sure to check the link in the description. If you want to join my guild in Reboot or in NA, there's also a link in the description for that. And if you want one of these sessions for yourself as well, there's also a link on how you can go about that, what the procedure is, what the prices are, and how you can chat one-on-one with me and get one of these sessions as well. So I look forward to your comments. I look forward to seeing you on stream, and thank you for watching.